but I get it. It was gonna be the other way, so
Yep, it
we
is.
gotta go find it. Okay. Well, I'm
I'll
getting.
call you as soon as we get off.
Well, I'm gonna go find it on YouTube.
Oh, look, she sounds so sad. We should interview
I'm just,
her.
I'm just tired. That's all. I've been up
Scoot over.
early.
No, so you can go to my Facebook page. I'm actually live now, so I'm going on there now to open it up for
Okay.
everybody to watch it live.
Okay. Sounds good. See you.
See ya. All right, so my Facebook page, so I can go on there now. Well, we are live. Today is June 12th, 2021. I am so excited. Again, if you guys want to be a sponsor to the show, you can get in contact with me. You can call me. You can inbox me on my Facebook page, which is Sunshine Camila, Kamela, even though that's not how you spell my name, but however, that's for pronunciation purposes. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, it is Keeping It Real Conversations with Sunshine. We are live right now, and I am opening it up now so everyone can share the video with this powerful woman that I am talking to today. So the show has been in existence since the beginning of December of 2021, no, 2020. I believe in 6 degrees of separation is one person away, one advice away, one help away from where you need to be in your destiny. Then I let people know how I know the person that I'm talking to. Well, this is one of many favorite aunties that I have. I have to be
That's the way to put it.
right, politically correct. One of many of my favorite aunties. Um, and she is definitely blood, Miss Vanessa White. But I have to let you know exactly, not just because we are family, but she has deposited so much into me. Oh my gosh. Since I was a young lad, young. I remember before she had children, she would bring me and my cousin Trinita over on the weekends, and she would have girl talks with us. So I learned a lot about being a female from my auntie. She would tell us things that to avoid us hitting our heads when we were growing up. When she had her daughters, she brought us over here and she would show us her having a baby. I mean, nothing blacked out, nothing. I was like, she said, yeah. So when you get grown and you feel like you grown, this is what happens if, I was like, wow. She's like, yeah, this is really what happens. And so one thing I had learned from my auntie is she said, I don't care what's going on in your life. If you're married or you're not married, make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. Don't depend on nobody. If he decides to leave, if something happens, God forbid, you should be able to handle yourself. Do not be like some of these other people just sitting around, collecting checks, not doing anything, whatever. Now, this woman, I thought she was Jamaican or something. She has so many professions that she has done. It's ridiculous. And so I want to welcome to the show one of my favorite aunties, Vanessa White. And also she just wrote a book, and that is part of why she's here. But welcome my auntie to the show, you guys.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So
It's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you, Camila, for your ingenuity and for your strength and for your wisdom. Thank you for the invitation.
I was excited that she was able to come on today. She's a very busy woman, not only with the things that she's done now. She is a great mother. She's a great grandmother, of course, auntie, sister. She's everything. She's one of the strongest women that I know. So I'm glad for her to be here. So,
Thank you.
auntie, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go.
We can
So,
start with the ninth of 12 children.
yes, well, we can go there too. We can go
Ninth
there
of
too.
12, and Camila's mom is my youngest sister. And she continues, even in her 60s, to say, I'm the baby. So, hey, Evelyn.
So, auntie, you where does this initiative comes from you? I kind of hinted at a lot of the professions. I didn't say what they were, but you have been in a lot of professions. So where did that come from?
You either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, you have to create it. I think it started with my mother, with her having so many of us and continuing to encourage us mainly to stay our walk with Jesus. And then she definitely emphasized education. She had a 7th grade education, but most of us, all of us have finished high school, and many of us have college degrees. And unfortunately, the world of starting a job and being able to stay there for 20 and 30 years and retire is almost non-existent unless it's with the federal government. And so I started off with the Detroit Police Department in 1977. And you know my age, right? In 1977, and after several years on the job, and lots of encouragement from my Scout Car partners and other people in the ranks who said, you should go further in life. And I said, well, how do I do that? They said, go back to school. And of course, it forced me, I think Ronald Reagan was in office in the 80s, and when I was trying to take a leave of absence. So sometimes when you're trying to make a change, you want to keep your foot on the land and one foot in the water just in case things don't go quite as planned. And so he wasn't granting leave of absence. So I had a choice to make, and that was either to return to school, apply to medical school, or to stay on the police department. And so with that, once God closes a door, he opens a window. And we all know that there's more windows in a house than doors. And so that was my first plans to make my mark in the medical field.
So you were a podiatrist, right? Or foot doctor?
Well, we had many things to do before we finally ended up going to podiatry school. But one of the things was I had majored in psychology and was going to that direction into psychiatry, just to try to understand how the human mind works. And you can get a degree all you want and study all the theories of psychiatry and why people act the way they do and do the things they do, and why some of us start a job and quit, or why can't we seem to just hold on when things get tough. And that comes with life experience. And so we only become strong by being strong. And so when you said, I think you're one of the strongest people I know, I promise you, many days I did not feel strong. I felt like giving up. I felt disappointed many times. But if you continue to put one foot in front of the other one, someone will believe in you. Some doors will open, some windows will open. People will see that you're determined. And so with that, I was able to have lots of support over the years, especially from family and from my pastors over the years.
So I believe in the time that you were going to, I believe, to be a foot doctor, that was at Cleveland?
Cleveland, yes.
Okay.
I graduated from Ohio College of Podiatric Medicine, which is now called Kent State College of Podiatric Medicine.
Wow.
That was in 1988. Can you tell?
Okay, so by this time you had moved from here, moved to Cleveland. Is this baby number 2 or baby 1?
Yes, Simone was born in my 4th year of medical school. I was
Okay.
getting ready to do a residency, and of course I was 33 years old. And many times we think that our biological clock requires us to go ahead and have children in our teens or 20s. Well, I had the first one at 33, and I had some Marissa at 35. So, yeah.
Wow. I didn't, well, you were
Yeah,
older,
so,
of course, so I didn't know how old you were. I just knew you were older than me.
Well, a lot of times we want families as women, we want families and we want our career, and we settle for less than what we really want because we think, well, this person asked me to marry him. Just because they asked you doesn't mean do it. A lot of people will ask you in a lifetime. And so with that said, come to the table with something so that, like Camila said, you have something to fall back on, whether it's men or women. A woman nowadays can have, my mother had me at 38, and then she had 2 more. So I'm just saying that many times we think that if we don't go ahead and have them, something will be wrong. I had worked in cancer research and radiation, and even though I was wearing a radiation badge and had had my urine tested regularly to confirm that I wasn't absorbing, I didn't know whether my kids were going to come out with, glowing in the dark.
Right.
And so, yeah, so sometimes our environment, such as our work environment, will make us feel as women that our eggs could be damaged. And so with much prayer and persistence, I just remained there to continue and finish my degree.
Also, I know, well, we could bring this up. She was one who went through a divorce. We all think that, when we get married, this is the one, and sometimes things happen and it's not the case. But one thing I did learn through her going through this, we didn't know how many times she cried. We didn't know her lonely times or whatever, the why, God, why did this happen? She still persevered and still went and did what she had to do for her girls. From there, you went from actually being a foot doctor to being a professor, correct? Or was it something in between that?
That's kind of the short version. I went through a divorce, as Camila said, and at that time I had 2 children, and they were 5. Well, Marissa was a newborn when I filed. And sometimes we're in toxic relationships that we know are not beneficial to us, are not going to work for us, and we just stay. I've been here, I put these many years in with this person. I don't want to be alone. I'm afraid of breaking up. People are going to stigmatize me and say, oh, you were a failure in your marriage, and nobody's going to want me. Well, that's not true, because the truth of the matter is, when we go through whatever it is we're going through, and we know it is not for us, we shouldn't just stay in it. Make a plan. And of course, we need to count up the cost before we make that decision. Why am I marrying him? Am I marrying him or her because they're pretty, or because they're handsome, or they got a nice car, or they said they love me? Well, the truth is, love is an action word. And so when you're watching your interaction in relationships, and you get little red flags, but you continue to go on and stay in it year after year, hoping, or maybe if I give more, they'll give more. But it doesn't work like that. Most of the time when you get more, they get less. And so you become stagnated, you become complacent, you become desperate, and think, well, I just have to I have to stay in this because there's no life after this. And truth be told, there is life after divorce. And I'm not saying to divorce, I'm saying if it's not working and you have know within yourself that you have done all that you could, perhaps you've gone to counseling and you've been grieving and and this person or this relationship is not working, then you have to make some decisions. And of course, a lot of times women stay because they think, well, I can't afford to live on my own, or I can't afford to have my own. I'll never have my own. Well, sometimes you have to get two jobs. I've had two jobs. I've had multiple jobs at the same time. If one is not paying what I needed to pay, then I just, place another one on top of that. There's some free hours in a day. And nowadays you can work from home. Yeah. And so a lot of times, as women and men, we just stay because we're used to it, or we're afraid to go out on our own. Okay. And so with that said, sort of like graduating from high school, there is life after high school. There is life after divorce. And the other thing is, if you can stay and make it work, you just know within yourself that this is a positive thing, for you in the long run. And so, I wrote in my book, face your fears. I had a fear of being a single parent. I had a fear of being alone. I had a fear of failure. I had a fear that I was too dark. I was too fat. I was too whatever, that nobody else would want me. And so once I could start put my heels down and just focused on my education and focused on my job and focused on my career and focused on my children, somebody saw me from afar. Somebody that I didn't even know was watching. Somebody was watching. And so God allowed that person to come into my life. And it was the best thing I ever did. One of the best things, besides my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and my education and keeping my health, I was able to marry a second time. And that person, of all things, it was like being married to Santa Claus. And unfortunately, he passed away.
Right.
And so you got a second blast that kind of knocks you over. And it took some years to overcome that and move on with my life again. And so, yeah.
But
if I could talk about anything,
I couldn't. You said so many things. Even in my own divorce, he had told me, really honestly, it should have been over a long time ago. And I stayed because he told me that he was never going to divorce me. He told me that he was going to put me on paper as being the one to, what do they call it? Spouse support and all of this stuff. So I just stayed. And in the back of my head, it was, Johnsons don't get divorced. I promise you, it's in my head. They're going to say, like, you didn't work hard enough. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. You didn't do your part. And I'm like, so when he came to me, I didn't ask for the divorce. He did. And instantly I didn't fight. I didn't stop. I was like, this is my way out. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so from there, as you said, somebody was watching you from afar. Same thing with me. All along, he was there watching me, waiting. He actually told God he wanted me. He wanted someone like me to be his wife. Who would have known the person I had a crush on all these years as my neighbor end up being my husband? Who thought of that? But it is life after divorce. God, you end up being what the person you were supposed to be with, who designed, that God designed for you. Not only that, listen here, you guys. If I ever seen somebody like with a mansion or she had a nice house when she lived here, for one. She lived in the Chicago area, on Longfellow. She had a nice house when she left here. She went to something bigger in Indiana. She said, you coming to visit me? I'm gonna put you in this room, nice room. Then she has a jacuzzi bathtub, big. I'm like, this is this is where I'm like, okay, if my auntie can do this, I definitely can do this. I want something bigger. I want something better. Because if my auntie can do this, I can do this. And she's never stopped moving. So my title of the show for her was It's Never Too Late. Okay? Never too late. So she has this book, right? I don't know if y'all can see all of this. She just came out with this book. Matter of fact, let me go back from that. She just had, if I'm not mistaken, hip surgery, right?
Hip surgery. Oh yeah, total replacement. Yeah. I'm dancing, I promise you.
She just had this surgery, and her sisters were on their way planning to come to visit her, be with her, help her. This woman already up, walking upstairs, doing all that. I said, did she just have hip surgery? What is she moving? It's almost like nothing can stop her. Nothing. The odds were against her, and she keeps on winning over and over and over again. So yes, I'm excited. Yes, I'm excited that I'm related to her. She's so close. We don't talk on the phone all the time, but so when she does call, it's like, okay, what's up? Like, yes, huh? What you need? And so she says, I wrote this book and I put you in the forward. I said, you did what? She said, you were my inspiration. I said, huh? What are you talking about? So I get this book in the mail, and I want you guys to support this book. Am I saying this because it's my auntie? Of course. But on top of this, these are some sayings, and she's explaining why these sayings are important to her. She tells you how this book comes in existence. And I'm gonna let her tell you this. But I got this book, and it has a personal note to me. And of course, I'm going to read it because it's my show. So in the book, it says, Camila, may God continue to bless and keep you in all of your endeavors. You are the best. Keep God first, with love to my writing lighthouse and inspiration, your Aunt Vanessa, May 24th, 21. So I'm going to let her explain all of that I just read. I'm trying not to cry. But again, the show is called It's Never Too Late. Auntie, how old are you, if you don't mind?
66.
And so most times when people get into a certain age and we box them into a corner saying that you're too old, you can't do this no more, you can't date, you can't do anything, life is over for you, let me put you in a nursing home, and whatever the case may be. This one right here, that's never going to happen.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Never going to happen.
Never gonna happen.
Some of the twists and turns of life, she has been able to overcome them over and over and over again. I've never personally seen her down. I have seen her going, literally, I have seen her go in her room, close the door, and I've seen her, and I've heard her cry. I've heard her scream. But when she comes out of the room, I kid you not, when she comes out the room, it's almost like nothing happened. Nothing happened.
You know the movie The War Room? You got to have a prayer room. You sure do.
So through all of these things, losing Big Mama, that was my grandma. She took care of her till the end. All of these things, I'm so proud of you, Auntie. It's ridiculous. Like, I can't
Praise
even.
God. I could not do it without them. But there's a couple things I want to just mention before I talk about how the book came about. When I graduated medical school and I had my daughter, I waited a couple years before I did a residency. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is that if it's not the main event, it's just practice. And what I mean by that is I had a friend who had done a residency in Norfolk, Virginia, and she had recommended me to also do the residency. And I sent a letter to the doctor, chief of the residency program, and I sent it to her in December. And when she went on Christmas break, just before she left, she told me that I definitely had the position and for me to forward my transcript and things to her. And so I went on Christmas break and she came back. And January 2nd of that following year, she called me and apologized and said she was not going to be able to give me the residency because while she was gone, it should have been, the person should have been selected. And her supervisor, the chief of surgery, had already chosen someone. And so for me to apply again in a year. And so I told her I didn't have another year. And so I took the same letter that I sent to her, and I changed the address and mailed it to another program within a week and was accepted there. So what am I telling you? If it's not the main event, it's just practice. So had I not applied for the first position, I would have not been ready. I wouldn't have had the letter ready. I wouldn't have had the thought in my mind that I could actually leave Detroit. So the letter went to Marion, Indiana. This is where Camila comes in. She doesn't know this yet, but I'm gonna tell this. That I had a 5-year-old and 7-year-old at that time. And Camila came with me to Marion, and the doctor wanted me to interact with the patients there and see how I performed on the floor. And Camila was in her teens. And so we got a hotel for a weekend. So you thought I didn't remember that you've been there. And so we got a hotel. And so she stayed with my 2 children. We found an apartment. We found, I got the residency. I worked for a week and we returned to Detroit to come back that following fall. So what am I saying? Had I not applied to Norfolk, I would have thought, oh, I'll never be able to do a residency. But because Norfolk turned me down, it got me ready for the main event.
Wow.
So yeah, you see what I'm saying? And so that happened to me actually this week. I applied to transfer within the hospital where I'm working now. And I did not get that position. And while I was on the internet, I saw another position. And the first one did not call me, but the second one called me, interviewed me on the phone, and then called me within a day for a face-to-face interview. So I'm saying if I hadn't got off the shore and into the water, I never would have had the faith to think that I could get promoted, that I could transfer. And so sometimes we're real complacent where we are, unhappy, know we can do better, and we just stay there. And so, in my book, it says, don't leave without a plan. And so what I did is once they told me they didn't answer me on the first interview, the second one came through. And on the 20th of June this year, I'll be transferring to another department. So if it's not the main event, it's just practice. It's getting you ready to say, hey, there is something else I can do besides where I am. And sometimes we're fearful. We don't want to meet new people. We want to be sure of our job. We want to, know where everything is. And so you cannot, unless you take a risk, go ahead and try to apply somewhere else. And so, and that's what happened. I mean, it happened back in, 95 when I did my first residency, and it happened this week. And so I just tell you, he's the same God today, tomorrow, and forever.
Wow.
Amen. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because it was really important for us to not get comfortable where we are, and try new things. And
try
so
new things.
I want to go somewhere and stay. I promise you. I thought I would stay and retire at the university after my residency. I married a pastor. And so I was out of medicine for 5 years as the first lady of the church and helping him in the ministry. And when I got ready to go back into medicine full time, I needed to do another residency because the time had passed. And so I was teaching at the time at the university, and I thought for sure that I was going to be there until I retired. In fact, I became department chair. And then one day the president of the college says, "Do you want to be the college president?" I said, "Why would I want your job? Don't you want it?" And he said, "I'm going to recommend you for it. I'm going to move on." And he did. And so I became interim president of the university. And believe it or not, within a short time after that, which is probably why he was leaving, that college closed. And so I'm just saying that to say, if he closes a door, he definitely opens a window.
Open another.
And that's how I ended up at the hospital where I am now. But yeah, sometimes it works out, doesn't work like you think. I just think I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be satisfied. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to retire from here. And you can't retire from somewhere if the company closes. And so some of us, I used to think I was the only one. How does this happen? How do I, finish all of this and then get into this position, which is what I would like to do for the rest of my life. And lo and behold, it closes. And so you'll see it on television. You see companies closes, CEOs jumping off of buildings, shooting themselves, all of that because what they had planned was not God's plan. Mm-hmm. And so we fall down, but we get up. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with our listening audience, because you think that there's not life after divorce. There's not life after losing a job. You are marketable. You are employable. So someone, hopefully that'll encourage you.
That
right,
is
about the
and
book.
you said something else. I forgot about coming to Indiana.
Oh, did you? Huh?
And I had to, this is where I fell in love with Barney, okay? Because the kids love Barney. They had this one Barney tape that they played all day long. And it was, after a while, you start hearing the songs, you play with them. They were young. And also, my auntie was the first time took me on a plane. We went to California.
Oh, I forgot about California.
Simone was born. Marissa was in her stomach. And I don't know, me and Simone bumped heads as about this girl. I don't know what that was. But my first time being on a plane, my auntie was like, we're going to California to see with her sister, Lamore, and my cousin, might as well say my sister, Trinita. And we went to California, and that was the best time in my life as a teenager. My first airplane ride was with my auntie to California. So not only did I go out of the state to Indiana, I went on a plane with my auntie. I totally forgot about that. But I need you to talk about this book.
Okay, here comes the book. The book started about 8 years ago, and I did a virtual book signing a couple weeks ago, and I talked about it then. So I'm gonna, for those of you who did not attend a book signing, here it is again. Okay, about 8 years ago, let me just give a kudos to my two daughters, Marissa and Simone, because the more I talk to people about the book and read the book, they are so impressed with the relationship of my daughters and myself. They're like, that is like the biggest compliment a mother could receive in a lifetime, is for a child to write down what their mother said and present it to them presented to her as a Mother's Day gift. And that's what they did. About 8 years ago, this is how the book started. It started as little note cards, and they're laminated. It says 10 things I love about my mother. And so like they'll write what they love about her, me, and then they'll put a scripture with it. Like it says, I love you because you are a cheerleader. And that's what they put on here. And then the scripture that goes with it says, she speaks with wisdom and faithful instructions. And faithful instruction is her tongue. Proverbs 31:26. Let's see. Here's another one. I love you because you are funny. And it says, the scripture that goes with that is, when it snows, she has no fear for her household. All of them are clothed with scarlet. Proverbs 31:21. So behind each one of these, I love you because you're always encouraging us to be different, because you are. I love you because you are compassionate and generous and uplifting. And so they wrote these little note cards and they presented it to me on a Mother's Day 8 years ago. And so of course, I kept it. Then each Mother's Day, it must be a special thing about being a mother. So what they did is they wrote down, and they were following me. I could kind of tell. They wrote down things that I had said, like what's in the book. And they presented it to me on this little notebook for Mother's Day. It says, don't be like me, be better than me. And so all the things that I always tell them, like, I've been where you're trying to go. And so they presented these 48 things, life lessons, and then they took it to Walmart and they put it in this little binder. All right. And so they gave it to me and it just sat in the book for a year. Then COVID hit and I was sent home, like a lot of you, with COVID pay. And I wrote a commentary on each one of these 48 things. And then that commentary, I put it in a manuscript. Well, I wrote it in a manuscript and it sat for 6 months. I didn't do anything to it. And my daughter Simone started to edit books for a publishing company. And one day she bought a dictaphone and I went and picked it up and took it to her. And I said, what is this for? She said, oh, I'm editing books. I says, no, you're editing books. You could edit my book. And lo and behold, I gave her the manuscript. She edited it. She put me in touch with her publisher. And that's how the book came into existence. And so it was not something I planned. I mean, I thought about it. I said, well, these ideas, you're saying the sayings, but you really need to put something with it. So, a life experience. And that's how the book came into existence, by these just little sayings that they said I say. So for about 6 months, every time I said something that they thought was profound, they're like writing it down. And that following Mother's Day, which was last year, they presented it.
So you guys, the book is called That's What You Say, 50 Quotes and Life Lessons for the Road Ahead. So on the picture, this is actually a picture of her house. This book is on Amazon, correct?
Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
So I need you guys to support my auntie. And it should say Vanessa J. White when you're actually ordering the book. I need you guys to support her. And again, I told you that the show is never too late. She's still doing things to this day that most people, even younger than me, is not even thinking about doing. She's still striving. She's still moving in this earth. Not only she was a first lady, and she kind of went over it a little bit, but she was a first lady, and there were things that, stepping into that role, you have to be anointed to do that, because you still have to deal with us, let alone cover the man of God. And he was very well known in Indiana, very well known. And so she had things that she had to do after he passed away. But even in that, like I said, she don't stay down too long. She will go in her closet, her war room, pray about it, scream, cry. And when she comes out, it's almost like nothing has happened. And she's been like that since I stayed under her. I was selfish when she moved away. I was very hurt because I felt like she was my escape from my reality as growing up. And so when she moved away, I was like, now what am I gonna do? She in Indiana, and I had to find my way. But again, the lessons that she taught me, just like her daughters, I never forgot them. I've always been a workaholic. I'm at the place now where I want to enjoy my life, live it, do what I have to do, and still live the fullest life that I can. Because of where we come from, our family, I'm doing what I'm doing. Um, did I know that this was going to happen? No. Did this happen during the pandemic? Yes. I had no idea. But I have people in my family that I might not say nothing, but believe me, I'm watching. She's definitely one. And so, if you don't listen to anything else that we have said today, is again, it's never too late. You can live beyond divorce. You can live by changing jobs, and you still will be okay. Even if it shuts down, if it ends, you still can get another job.
Absolutely.
If not, you can make ways for your own self. There's plenty of time. She is a professor. She went out and taught and talked to people about things that she knows. Your brain, come on now. You can get paid for what you know. This is what she does. Not only that, now she went from doing that to a hospital to is like we're I mean, it's nothing that I don't think she can do. Honestly, I don't. How you go from a Detroit cop to the medical field? And these are, y'all don't understand, medical school are hours. This is not like the fly by night type stuff. She spent time with two kids and still did it. So no one has any excuse, none whatsoever. So, Auntie, what else do you got to say, ma'am?
Well, I think one of the things that you're touching on right now is determination. And the other thing is sacrifice. It is a sacrifice that, believe it or not, the 4 years that I was in medical school, movies came, I never saw them. Years later, I'm like, when did that come out? They said, well, that came out in 88. Oh, yeah, I was busy. Okay, so a lot of things we miss. And it's sort of like Cinderella going to the ball. You're going to have to leave early. If you know you have a job the next day to go to, and the party doesn't get good till 12 o'clock, and you know you got to get up the next morning, you're going to have to sacrifice. And so it was with studying. We had 32 graduate credit hours per semester in especially the first and second year of medical school. And so I'm saying that because a lot of people I'm taking 12 hours, and 12 hours is a full load. Well, take 36 hours and have to do rotations as well. And so it's a form of discipline. And so many days I remember asking one of my classmates, hey, Maxine, asking her, am I standing up straight? Do I look like I'm losing my mind? Because I feel like I am. And many a time I did. I just felt like this was too much. And so if success was easy, everyone would have it. If it was easy, everyone. And so people that said, well, I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm just going to play the lottery. What's the chances of you winning people say, well, if you don't play, you're not going to win. Well, the thing is, if you have 1,000,000 to 1 chance, they'll say, well, I'll just take my chances. Well, you're better off having your cab fare home, okay? And I'm saying that to say, if you go ahead and seek the career that's pleasing to you, that you're happy with, then it doesn't feel like work. You know, if you like children, let's say you like children and you want to work as a teacher, then it won't feel like every day that you go there that this is work. If it's something you love, like people like to shop. I know one person in particular likes to shop. And so I told, why don't you become a buyer for Macy's? So you can travel the world and choose clothing for Macy's or for Pennies or for Lord and Taylor. So go into a field that you like. And if you like it, it's not going to feel like, not to say you're not going to get tired, but it feels like fun. Okay, you got people that like kids, so they go work for Chuck E. Cheese. Well, better yet, why don't you own a Chuck E. Cheese franchise? Okay, and so a lot of times we don't invest in things that are interesting to us, that we can expand upon. And so we're fearful. We operate within this small little zone because, number one, our association, the people we associate with say, well, girl, you better get you a job and keep it. Go and work 9 to 5 for 30 years, get that little retirement and be done with it. Well, in that interim, what are you doing with your free time? What are you doing with your free time? And so with my free time, I wrote a book. And so a lot of people have dreams that they want to do in life, but they don't know how to get started. So one of the things you do is network. Look how my book came together. You know, I had the ideas had already been published. And you can see this is just coming together, not because I really thought I was going to do it, but once I wrote the manuscript and typed it out, and then I had some resources in my daughter who was already editing books. And so when God starts placing people in your life to help open the doors and say, hey, I can take your book and I can format it and send it to the publisher, and within 3 weeks you have a book in your hand.
Right. This
So
is the whole point too of the 6 degrees of separation. So my auntie calls me and she says, I have a young lady who wants to come on your show. And I begin to talk to her. And because of this conversation's connection to my auntie, she's going to be editing and producing my book too. So it's like, who would have ever thought that all of this was going to come together? It's just amazing how when God is in it, if it's for you, it's for you. It's going to be in his timing. Everything that my auntie has said, everything was in God's timing. Did we all plan this and say down like I was going to become a doctor? No, if that was the case, she would have came out the gate becoming a doctor. She was a cop first. And so when people see something in you, they will support you. When you're trying to make strides out here, people will support you, connect you, push you to where you need to be in your destiny. This is the whole point of the show. The whole point of the show. She just so happens to be my family. So I'm excited for you. I know the book is going to take off. I know people are going to support it, even where you are. It's just amazing to see you. It's like every time I see you, you getting younger. And it looks like there is no stress, no nothing. And another thing that I am hearing more and more, that we need to rest. We doing too much and we're not getting rest. So then you get all these wrinkles under your eyes. You looking so old and all of this stuff. No, please get some rest.
Yeah.
You can't do God's will and all of this stuff. You overweight and you're not getting no sleep.
Yeah. To piggyback on the idea of it's never too late. Sometimes we feel like timing is not important. And timing is everything. As you can see, it took me till age 66 to finally, even though this has been, you know, the initial thing came in little rings and it's, you know, like this. It was an idea planted in my head. And then it came like this. And then it became a book. And so I could see it 8 years ago that somebody on a Mother's Day card would like to say 10 things I love about my mother, or 10 things I love about my father. Father's Day is coming up. And so they put it on these little note cards and printed them and put it on a ring. and presented as a Mother's Day card. It was just not a, and so I'm saying that to say, sometimes you got to see the vision. You got to see the vision. You got to take the time. And they laugh at me because I go to sleep around 5 o'clock. If my shift is 3 a.m. in the morning, yes, around 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm winding down for the day. And so I kind of have them trained. Don't call after 8 o'clock because mom sleep. And so something, but of course, come 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to look like I'm dying.
Right.
And so we drinking plenty of water, doing exercises, getting your rest, and not overtaxing yourself. And you say, well, how do you not overtaxing yourself if you have children or you have a family? Okay, well, maybe it's not the time right now, but it's never too late. And so even if in your retirement you think, oh, I've always wanted to write a book, or I've always wanted to travel the world, but I never had the money. Look, my granddaughter, she's 19, she said, Nana, why don't you get a part-time job at the airport? She said, you could, we get free flights all over the world. And, and so when you start thinking of things you could do, I have a friend who pastors, but she works at Starbucks, and she meets doctors and lawyers, and she networks, and her daughter works at an airline. So she gets buddy passes to travel all over the world. Japan, she's been to Washington State, and she's been to Hawaii. And so I'm saying that to say, if you like to travel, then maybe you should consider a part-time job at the air. This is not me promoting any particular airline or something, but it's a thought. How can I get this accomplished? I said, when I retire, what would I like to do in my spare time? A, I would like to travel. B, I would like to work out every day. So why don't you go work at a gym? So you got a free gym membership or whatever, something that motivates you where you're around people who are doing already what you want to do. And so those kind of things are ideas to help you bring it together where you can actually make your dream a reality. So if you like to bake, go work at a bakery. So you can see if this is something you want to do long term. If you want to go into agriculture, take a couple classes on horticulture and see if this is something you want to do. But knowledge is the big thing. If you know the field, and if you don't, go where you want to be when you grow up. And so that's what I did. When I left the police department, I went and worked in a laboratory doing cancer research with all the doctors. I joined a church where most of the members of the doctor field. And then the pastor of that church adopted me and mentored me for years. And that was Dr. Frederick Sampson. And he mentored me for years and just told me, you can do it if you try. And a kudos to him and his family. Just want to mention that because I saw him, watch how innocent this was. I was at my own church in I'm going to say in the 70s. And Dr. Sampson came and spoke at the church. And he talked about living your dream. And when service was over, he was the evangelist for the week. When service was over, I went up to him and I said, hey, I would like to go to medical school, but I don't know anyone who has ever gone to medical school. And I said, I just want to know, if I went to medical school, would you be willing to, mentor me, to introduce me to the people I need to know and help me through the ropes? And he says, I tell you what, he said, give yourself 1 year to clear up all your bills and prepare yourself for medical school. So I did that. So a year later, I called the church and I made an appointment to see him. And I went in the office and, he was sitting there talking and he didn't remember it. he didn't remember telling me that. And I said, oh, well, here I am. I felt like with Sound of Music, she said, here I am. And he said, so what is it you're trying to do? And he didn't remember. And I said, well, I spoke to you in revival and told him what I just told you. And he says, so what do you need me to do? And I said, I would like you to introduce me to the people I need to meet. I need you to turn and give me direction on how I can get a medical school. And from that day until he passed, he became my mentor. He hooded me at commencement. He became my daughter's godfather. And so sometimes you have to have somebody who's gone where you're trying to go in order to lead you, you know. And so I was very, he came to my commencement along with his daughter, Frida, and he hooded me at my commencement. And so just to have people in your life to give you inspiration and to give you encouragement is so important. And maybe it's not somebody in your family.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not somebody in your family, because Jesus wasn't even accepted in his own hometown.
Right.
Fortunately, I have a family that does support me and believe in me and continues even to this day. And but sometimes you have to reach outside of your network and expand your horizon. But first thing you got to do is make a decision.
Absolutely.
There's a scripture to say a double-minded man is confused in all his ways. And so you got to make a decision. Is this what I want to do? And never lose sight of that, even 66 years later. So, Kabila?
That is great. I remember conversations being in the living room, and you and my mom would be on the phone, not only about the girls or me, I was always in trouble. It was conversations about the medical field. For those who didn't know, my mom was an RN nurse for 20 something years. I want to say 23, 24. So them two will be talking on the phone, and my mom became a nurse because of my my uncle Dennis, who's deceased. But they will all talk amongst themselves. And for me, I was like, yeah, I'm not going in the medical field because of the stories I done heard, the stuff that I've seen. And I was like, I'm good on that. No, am I afraid of blood? No, I'm not afraid of needles. But just the story and the things that they had to go through, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good on that. But even in the heart of it, which is still customer service. So I took the other end of it in the jobs that I've taken, and making sure, like she said from the beginning, my grandmother was really big on education. So if you don't do nothing else, make sure you get your coins, make sure you are about your business, making sure that you good, no matter if no one else is. And if you're not good, you can't help anybody else.
That's
So
right.
I just want to thank you, Auntie, for coming on the show today. It's almost time for my next show, but I love you so much.
I love you
Thank
too.
For those who are on, please like and share the video if it's on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. Again, thank you. Support my auntie and her book. It is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Please support her book. Thank you, Auntie, and I
love you. Thank
Enjoy the rest
you.
of your Saturday.
I appreciate it. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
God bless you. Thank
God bless you
you
too.
so much.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
All right.
All right.
We'll
bye-bye.
talk again.